Hi everyone, my name is Deanna and welcome to my channel about stories that happen in life. Sit back, pour yourself a hot drink. I think this is going to be very interesting. Well, before we start, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a lot of new and useful videos. Artem hurried to his mother's house after work. She called and complained again about feeling unwell. Kalina Sergeyevna's blood pressure had spiked, and as luck would have it, she had run out of pills. Artem was in a hurry to get them. Although, to be honest, he suspected that his mother was cunning. She always has the right medication. It's just that she still cannot get used to the idea that her son has his own life. She wants him to be with her all the time. Artem is fed up with it. He rented an apartment. He only visits his mother on weekends, and she tries to pull him to her with such attacks. But we still have to buy the pills. There were only two people in the pharmacy, an expensively dressed elderly woman and a little girl of about 6 years old. Artem at first thought that they were together. Then he saw how the old woman looked at the girl with contempt and realized that the little girl is on her own. Yes, such an important lady can't have a well-groomed companion. And the girl looked like a vagrant, an old jacket all in the dirt, hair disheveled, the nose badly wiped dirty blotch. The little girl came to the window and, stretching out her skinny neck, timidly asked the pharmacist something. Artyom didn't hear. At the beginning of their conversation, he was concentrating on repeating to himself the name of the medicine for his mother, so as not to forget. The pharmacist's chuckle drew his attention to the conversation at the window. "What kind of pill do you want?" A young, brightly painted girl in a white coat asked him again. "A magic pill," the girl repeated quietly. "The kind that could cure mommy." "Girl, don't mess with my head," the pharmacist replied with a twitch of her shoulder. "We don't have magic pills. This is a pharmacy, not a shop of miracles." "Well, mommy always bought me magic medicine, and it worked. But now mommy needs help. And there's no one else but me. Don't you think I have money?" And the girl held out her palm, on which a few coins gleamed. "There's enough here for a hematogen. You'll have hematogen," the pharmacist grinned. "No, I will not," swallowed hungry saliva, replied the girl. "I'd like to give my mom some medicine." The girl raised her voice. "The girl in the robe. I have no right to sell you anything anyway. And in general, now I will call the police. Let them sort out why you are here alone, and what kind of disease your mom has." After these words, the girl recoiled from the window, turned pale, and then, clasping the coins in the palms of her hands, about the wrinkle rushed to the exit. "God, divorce these vagrants, just horror," continued to comment pharmacist. "And where the guardianship is looking, there is a mother. Drunken girl running, all the means looking for, his nephew Tedeview want to cure." Artem didn't say anything, didn't answer her, though it was clear that the girl was looking for his support. "They're all over the place." The young man named the drug, paid, and went out with a cherished box. Already familiar to him, the girl sat on the porch of the pharmacy and smeared tears on her grimy cheeks. Artem suddenly felt like a prick in his heart. I wanted to go over and find out what happened to the girl's mother. Maybe it's true that they're drinkers then, of course. The police and guardianship should be called. A little kid shouldn't be alone in a big city. "What bad day?" he asked the girl and sat down next to her. "My name is Uncle Artem, and you are Masha," through tears said the little girl. "Tell me what's wrong with your mom." "Where is she?" Masha looked surprised at the unfamiliar uncle, and then, bursting into tears, all in. "We didn't always live together with Mom. At the beginning in the village, and then moved to the city. Mom got a job in a store, and then she was hit by a car. Now her legs hurt a lot. And the doctors. The doctors looked at her. Artem got worried. She was brought back from the hospital with bad legs. Our neighbor Aunt Chenya brought her." "I see. So you're on your own. No one is watching you. Why should anyone look after me?" Masha replied with her chin up. "I'm already a big girl, and I even work." "You work," smiled Artem. And where the janitor Uncle Marat helps me, he gives me some money. I usually spend it on bread and milk. And today I wanted to buy some magic medicine for my mom. Yeah, my mom always bought it for me when I had a sore throat and headache. I can find one for her too. Artyom looked thoughtfully at the poor girl. What can he do for her? Give some money and leave or call the police? Yes. Perhaps someone else. That's what someone else would do in this situation. Probably the second would have been the right thing to do. But Artyom hesitated. For some reason, he felt the distress of this unfortunate child, who at such a young age faced very unchildlike problems. There was something else Artyom could not understand. It seemed to him that he had seen this girl somewhere, but where he could not remember. Masha, you must be hungry. Artyom came to his senses. Let's go to the cafe. I'll treat you to something delicious. Do you want a cake? The girl looked at him in surprise, and then lowered her eyes. No, thank you. I don't want one, she mumbled. Then let's do it this way, Artyom ruefully said. Let's go to the store, get you and your mom some food, and then you can take me to your place. I want to meet your mom. Why? The girl asked tensely. Uncle Artyom, don't tell the cops about us, or they'll take me away from my mom. And how will she be without me? Don't worry, I wasn't thinking, he smiled back. In the supermarket, he took a cart and told Masha to put those products that they consider necessary. Artyom thought that the girl will rent to the racks with sweets and lemonade, but she first went to choose cereals. Artyom noticed that takes the cheapest. You can already read, he asked Masha. A little, she admitted. My mom taught me. Next year, I need to go to school. The girl sighed heavily, just like a little old lady, and headed for the meat department. The same froze in indecision. Uncle Artyom, can I have some sausage? She raised her sky-blue eyes at him. Artyom even shuddered, so familiar was that look to him. Of course, he realized, let me help you. And he began to fill the cart with products. Milk, meat, semi-finished products taken, and sweets and fruit. Masha looked at him frightened, surprised. Uncle Artyom, where is so much? She pulled his sleeve. It's all very expensive. Artyom only smiled back at her, but the girl was persistent. No, you can't. So you don't know us. Why would you spend money on us? Mom says you can't live at the expense of others. That's what your mom says, but you can't stop helping. I can see that you and your mom are in need. We are beggars, Masha replied with resentment. What are you, girl? I did not mean to offend you. In a difficult situation, people should help each other, right? Yes, then don't argue. Let's go to the cash register. They left the store with 3 full bags. Artyom went to his car. Masha, confused, walked beside him. Let's go to your mom, said Artyom, putting the bags in the trunk. The girl recoiled from him. Oh no, I'm not going with you. Mom says you cannot get into the car with strangers. Your mom says, all right, agreed on Artyom, you cannot. But we've already met. I'm not going to do anything bad to you. And I cannot go with the bags on foot to your house, in case they break. Yes, and heavy. Masha listened attentively, once again looked carefully into Artyom's eyes, and then, nodding in agreement, sat down in the salon. Soon on the spot, this 2-story-old barrack seemed to grow into the ground. Gray, shabby, in the holes of the wall, he stood. Behind the garages, a little away from the usual 5-story buildings, which against his background looked like street palaces. Artyom and Masha went into the only entranceway, missing mold, cats, and some other incredible stench. Artyom gingerly stepped onto the stairs leading to the 2nd floor. Yes, Uncle Artyom, you should be careful. Masha noticed his confusion. You look under your feet. There are holes, and... Artyom carefully began to rise, stepping over the holes in the stairs, where an adult foot could easily fall through. Masha, habitually, easily jumping over the dilapidated steps, went up next to him. And now they are standing in front of the shabby door. In Artyom's soul, a doubt stirred. Maybe he shouldn't have come here. Maybe he should have. You can call the police to take care of the girl, because normal people can't live in such a shack. And all those stories about Masha's sick mom are just embellished stories of another alcoholic, and he spent money on food for them like a fool. But there's nothing to do if you came. You have to go in and see for yourself. Masha rummaged in the pockets of her jacket and pulled out a key. The door creaked and opened. To Artem's surprise, the room was clean, poor, but neat. There was a white tablecloth in the corner, which was reserved for the kitchen, an old tile on the table, and clean dishes in a simple drying rack. At the entrance, a refrigerator was humming away. There was a desk in the middle of the room and faded doormats on the floor. The far corner of the room was blocked by a closet, probably a bedroom. "Mashenka, you've come." A weak female voice came from behind the closet. "Come to me, my girl, I'll kiss you." Masha happily ran behind the closet. "Oh God, Masha, where did you get so dirty?" smelled the woman. "I can't reach this jacket now, and they'll give me hot water only at night. That's how you should wash now, but with your hair and hands. You're like a chimney sweep, and I am a chimney sweep," laughed Baby. "Today I helped Uncle Murat to clean a pipe from leaves under the road. He gave me 50 rubles in kopecks for it. You are my miracle," sighed the woman. Artem heard her kiss her little girl. She whispered something back, and he stood there, not daring to pass. "What, uncle?" He heard the woman's anxious voice. "Why did you take his help? What kind of products is it possible, Masha? I told you that you cannot talk to strangers, and you still got in the car." And Artyom went to the closet. "I'm sorry, I'm the one who brought your girl." The next second Artyom was frozen in place. On the small sofa sat his Lena, the Lena he had once loved so much, and then suddenly she was gone. "You," was all the woman could manage to say. She turned pale, her lips quivering. "Lena, how come? What happened to you? Why are you here? Where were you?" Artyom only asked questions without getting answers. Lena looked at him and kept silent, and Masha looked perplexed, then at her mother, then at this kind Uncle Artem. "Mom, do you know Uncle Artem?" finally asked the girl. "Yes, Mashenka, you go put the kettle on. We need to talk with Uncle Timon," quietly answered Lena. "Okay." The little girl nodded understandingly in response. "I'll sort out the groceries. Uncle Artem bought so much stuff. Take off your jacket, my onion woe, and wash your hands." Lena shouted after her, and then she stopped talking and looked at Artem again. Her eyes were big blue, like the morning July sky. Artem only now realized what Masha looks like, the only woman whom Artem loved truly. With Lena, they studied at the same university, the future architects. Lena came to the city from a small village and lived in a dormitory. Artem immediately noticed this cute mermaid girl with blue eyes, but did not dare to approach. And then, over time, they got to know each other better. In the beginning, they just chatted like good friends. By the end of the course, the friendship had grown into something more. They couldn't live without each other. Together at university, together in the library. Artem spent whole days at Lena's dormitory. The janitors fought at first, but then they got used to it. They saw that between young people sincere feelings, and only Artem's mother could not accept that her only son, her hope and support, suddenly chose some plebeian. Artem once only brought Lena to his home, and then the mother showed that she did not approve of their relationship. Therefore, the son did not bring the girl to his home again, trying to be on her territory. "Artem, you come from an intelligent family. Your grandfather was a famous doctor. Your grandmother worked in the theater. Your dad was a budding scientist. Too bad he died young. I'm a school principal. In short, not the last person in this society. And what are you doing messing around with a girl from the village? What are her genes? The parents are drunk, limited people." Galina Sergeyevna convinced her son every time he came home from the hostel. "Lena is a smart and nice girl," Artyom answered her. "And her mother is a wonderful woman who works in the village library, and her father is an agronomist. They are not alcoholics. So you've already met the parents," grabbed from behind Galina Sergeyevna's head. "So far in absentia, but I think we'll soon get acquainted, said Artyom. But the trip to Lena's parents kept getting postponed, and all because of Galina Sergeyevna. On New Year's Day, she went into the hospital with a hypertensive crisis, and in the summer she lay down for a planned operation. And Artem stayed to support his mom all the time. But with Lena's parents in absentia was already familiar. They congratulated each other on the phone after the holiday, and then in the fall suddenly to the university. There came one invitation to a student conference in Moscow. And, to Artem's surprise, the rector called him to his office and handed him the invitation. The guy did not want to go, but first of all, Lena convinced him, such a chance, we must go there. And how worried you were, Artyom, a whole week without me. I don't want to go without you. Only weeks will fly by, you won't even notice, Lena insisted. And then you and I will go to the capital more than once. And so Artyom flew to the conference. The first 2 days they didn't call Lena, but then, suddenly her phone went silent. Artem couldn't find a place for himself. And when he returned to his hometown and almost rushed to the university, learned that Lena urgently took the documents and moved out of the dormitory. Why was it on the 5th course in the dean's office was also puzzled. Everything was for this student. Then Artem called Lena's parents, but they told him not to call them again and not to bother Lena. Her mother added fuel to the fire by suggesting that Lena had found someone else, apparently rich, so she left everything. Don't worry, son, you'll have another girl, and a more worthy one than Lena. Artyom eventually decided his mother was right. Lena had found someone else, otherwise she wouldn't have left her. But it was such a shame because there were real feelings between them. Artem graduated from university and got a decent job. During this time, there were a few frivolous romances, but his heart was now silent. The closest person in his life remained his mother, who was only happy to be there. And now, 7 years later, Artem saw his former lover, gaunt with circles under her eyes, in a rotten barracks, eaten by rats. And next to this girl, so similar to Lena. Explain to me where you disappeared to, Artyom demanded. Lena was silent for a while, gathering her thoughts. She had nothing to hide. She was driven by resentment. And the case was like this. When Artem left for the conference, Galina Sergeyevna came to her dormitory. She started by saying that Lena was no match for her son. And then she said something that made Lena's eyes darken, saying that Artem had a girl in Moscow, a childhood friend, and they hadn't been in touch for some time. But today they met in the capital, and the feeling immediately seized both of them. Allegedly, the son has already called her Galina Sergeyevna, happy and satisfied. Only one thing troubled him, how to be with Lena now they are not on the way. Lena believed Galina Sergeyevna's words. Lena decided not to interfere with her lover's happiness. She packed her things, took her documents, and went home. There, sobbing on her mother's lap, and told her everything. Parents were outraged by Artem's behavior, but convinced the daughter that they still need to explain themselves. Lena didn't want to see Artem and didn't want to hear from him either. That's when Artem called, and Lena's father hastily told him not to bother them anymore. And then the worst happened. Lena's parents crashed their car, and the girl buried them. A week later, she realized she was having a baby. I decided not to tell Artem. She'd grow up on her own. Mashenka was born. At first, there was children's money, which paid for a daughter, but over time, they became miserably ridiculous. Lena went to work. Her education was incomplete, and she can't get a job as an architect in the countryside. And then she was offered the position of head of the post office. Lena accepted. She worked there until a post office in the village was closed. An island again, there was a question of how to live. And then an old aunt on my mom's side showed up. She offered Lena to move in with her. She lives in a barracks, but almost in the center of town. It is possible to find a job. The kindergarten will be more difficult, but Aunt Valia promised to look after the girl in exchange for the fact that Lena will help her with household chores. Lena agreed. She and Mashenka moved to the city. Lena went to work as a cashier in a store, and everything seemed fine, at least tolerable. And then Grandma Valia died. She was already old. Lena and Masha found themselves in that barracks on a bird's license. The old lady didn't have time to register them, but they lived until they were kicked out. And fate turned out to want to test Lena's strength once again. One evening she was returning home after work, and there was a drunken daredevil at the crossing. They never found him. Her legs were badly damaged. Lena spent a month in the hospital. It was good that a neighbor in Barak looked after Mashenka during that time. Alma was a woman who drank, but she wasn't completely lost, so she looked after the baby normally. Lena's doctors said in the hospital that she needed an operation. Without it, she would not be able to walk normally. But the operation is paid, and the young woman did not have much money. They brought her back by ambulance, took her into a room, and that was it. Lena could only crawl around. She had no crutches or a wheelchair, but she learned to crawl half sitting and put her room in order. Money was tight, very tight. She had some savings left from her aunt, which were melting away with incredible force. And Lena's legs hurt very badly at times, so that she wanted to scream, but she did not linger, so as not to frighten Mashenka. Thoughts about her daughter worried Lena. What awaits her little girl will have to surrender to an orphanage. Lena cried nights from helplessness, and Mashenka, seeing the suffering of her mother, in every way possible tried to alleviate her condition, even trying to work part-time, helping the local janitor. And today, apparently in despair, baby and went to the pharmacy, hoping for a miracle. Artem listened to Lena with his head down. How many things happened to his beloved, and he thought she was a cheater? A cheater? Dear Lena, how shameful it is now. Masha, my daughter, he asked hoarsely when Lena was silent. Yours, Lena almost whispered. Why didn't you ever call me? Why didn't you say anything? I didn't want to disturb you, and you have your own life. What a life without you I didn't live, exist. Mother lied. I had no one, shrieked Artyom, and after a moment's silence added, and now I don't. All this time Masha stood behind the closet and listened attentively to the conversation of the adults. Then she could not stand it and came up to them. Uncle Artyom, you're my daddy, she said timidly and raised her cornflower-colored eyes at him. I am your daddy, Artyom said, and his voice trembled. And no more, my most beloved girls, I won't leave you alone for a moment. That same evening, Artyom moved Lena and Mashenka into his apartment. Mom called. Galina Sergeyevna was angry. Where is her favorite son? She's dying. Mom, I found Lena. Artyom told her, and now we'll be together. Despite all your meanness with Lena, the very Lena, Galina Sergeyevna shrieked, Oh, I'm dying. I'll call you an ambulance, calmly replied Artyom, and ended the conversation with his mother. From that day on, he firmly decided that he now had a new life. He will not renounce his mother, but he will not let her close to him. And Lena Artyom paid for her surgery, and eventually, she was able to walk normally. Now she has already graduated from university and works together with Artyom. But it won't last long, because the machine will soon have a brother or sister.